Live. That's different.
We're starting.
Hi. That's for me, apparently.
I meant from a software perspective, not from. Hello, everybody. Say hola, JB.
I'm not falling for this, Randy.
Yeah, we're actually live this time.
Oh, this by my live, you mean live this time?
By live.
Okay.
We're live.
Hold on 1 second, Randy. I am. There we go. I had to.
Why was it on? Oh, because you gotcha.
I had to do a little something there. Oh. Okay.
Just my mic a little bit here. Oops.
Best intro ever. If we do anything,
hold on. Make sure I got the notification.
All right.
Okay, good.
Welcome, everybody. Randy, thank you for being here. Welcome to Addition Through Distraction. And Randy, we want to start off, I think, with a nice, big, bold sell of it right here from the get-go, right? So Addition Through Distraction. What can viewers expect? Well, this is where we work diligently to provide value add through distracting you with our antics, which is largely centered around nerd-based art and mind-stimulating conversation. And I guess it's that sort of thing, Randy, right? When someone says, let me tell you a funny story. And it's like, why don't you just tell me the story? I'll figure out whether or not it's funny. So maybe I shouldn't say it's mind-stimulating. Maybe that's being presumptuous on my part. However, speaking for myself, I sure do find it mind-stimulating, Randy, and I appreciate you for it.
I was just thinking about something on the way here. It was like when somebody says that something's funny, but and somebody else is like, oh, what was it? And you're like, well, it's you had to be there. It's a kind of inside joke. You had to be there. You won't find it funny or whatever. They're like, no, really, go ahead and tell me. You know, like, so that's part of like, I'll be the judge.
Yeah. But
the other person is. There's different ways to view it. Like how are those people behaving? Like what are they? Why are they pursuing that line? Like if they said, no, go ahead and tell me, and they're like, oh, okay, and they tell you, and then the person's like, oh, well, I guess you had to be there. They're like, well, I just told you that.
Oh, yeah.
So there's various ways. Like, is the person trying
that is
to be...
brutal. I do remember.
There's a lot of psychology potentially there to unpack.
I do remember Bill Cosby saying, and there was a time when Bill Cosby was regarded as an American hero and not a monster. It's hard for kids might not know that. But
Jell-O's will never be the same again.
Yeah, there was always room for pudding pops. He said that, you know, as a comedian, if you ever say, I guess you had to be there, then you failed. You're a failure. Like, you're never allowed to say that. And it's like, that's an interesting concept. So yeah, so I think is that an accurate description, Randy? That we're bringing some value add to people by distracting them through giving a little distraction throughout their day, and hoping that will provide a little bit of addition, little value. All right.
I hope so. We shall endeavor to do so. At
least. I'm sorry, Randy. I walked on you.
Ow! Get off my back,
Randy. You may remember this previously on Studio Johnny Q Addition Through Distraction. You may remember these lovely things are ball bearings that we put into paint bottles, right?
Yep.
And you might remember I dropped these on the floor, and that's when I realized why hematite might not be the option that I would want. I might want something magnetic because it's easier to pick them up off the floor. I had that very same conversation go through my head again. Because I dropped these on the floor yet again yesterday.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
But, hey, there's few things more fun than picking ball bearings out of some carpet. So, your experience may differ, you know. Check local listings. Randy.
There's a joke there about playing with balls, but we'll leave it.
If I'm not enjoying it, I'm doing it wrong. Is that something along those lines?
Well, there's also a joke about picking your balls up off the floor.
Well,
like getting older.
Man, this is men of a certain age, Randy. We've been talking about this.
Why'd you remind me?
If they're not there, wait, buddy. They will be. They will be. And something about a continental soldier and anyways.
Do you want to tell them who we are and what they should do?
Who we are. Yeah.
Who the hell are you?
We are Studio Q, mighty, mighty Studio Q. Everywhere we go, people want to know. So we tell them who we are. We're Studio Johnny Q, the mighty, mighty Johnny Q. Everywhere we go, people wants to know. So we tell them who we are. I used to live. My background was a school, and that school used to.
On your videos, you had a school as your background.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Behind my house, growing up as a child.
Oh,
back when I was a children, Randy. I had a backyard. Oh yeah, I did. No, I've never had a backyard. I had a literal backyard, and if you were to hop that fence, you would end up at a school, right? So the school was super close, and they would always do the football tryouts. So they would always have that. And so you always knew it was a certain time of year when you could hear the people doing the cheers, the girls doing their cheers and them running the football drills. So that was one. And it was just always just thought it's funny because it was a cheer that can go on forever, right? There's like no end. You just have to figure it out, Yeah.
I would do a horrible earworm, but I'm not that evil.
Oh, wow. You are a good man. Here's a helpful tip for our listeners. Carrie, she taught me this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful trick. There's a couple ones.
For getting rid of earworms?
Yeah. One of them is that another brick in the wall is pretty much guaranteed, if you listen to it, to flush any song that you have out. Works. I don't... It's anecdotal evidence on my part.
As a mantra, just repeat. Yes. Another brick in the wall. Another brick in the wall. Yes. Another brick.
And I don't. I'm down with that line of thought, Randy. However, yeah, that's a really good one. And another one is like a song that you hate that comes on the radio. Just do it in chicken voice, and it makes it a very enjoyable experience.
What exactly is chicken voice?
So, like the one that I don't like is. There's a song when I was in college that just is called, I think, Freshman. She fell in love in the first place. It wasn't our fault. We were merely freshmen. And so if you go, see that? I love that. That's fun. But if I was actually hear that Mocker Bacher sing that, I would want to choke the life out of him, and that's not what we're all about here. So we endorse when you encounter situations like that, chicken voice works. It works every time. It is magic. That's just a little magic gift that you've gotten from Studio Johnny Q. So enjoy that.
Let me see if it applies to my earworm, and we'll
okay. Yeah, can you do your earworm as in chicken voice, and I can try.
Hey, it does. Yeah, this one definitely makes it better.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it is magic. It is a wonderful, wonderful magic. Because you can get assaulted by that. You can just be going around minding your own business, Randy, right? Thinking good thoughts, and then all of a sudden you're at the supermarket or you're getting some gas or something, right? And then there's that song comes in, and it's like, wasn't because you had a bad station on the radio. I mean, just no fault of your own, just living life, doing your thing, and now you've got this horrible, horrible thing that's stuck in your head. So, but now, where you may have felt helpless, you have tools. So,
awesome.
Take that and move forth. Randy, I actually thought about opening today's show with prayer.
And then
an American prayer by Mr. Morrison. He had a lovely little line that he said, and it was, "O great creator of being, grant us one more hour to perform our art and perfect our lives." And that's some good words. I really have always appreciated that sentiment. So I wanted to open today's show with that. Let's see if we can perform our art and work a little bit at perfecting our lives. Randy, how's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So what do we have on the agenda? If there's any, you know what? We didn't. I was telling people that we are Studio Johnny Q, and I forgot to do the other important things. Mm-hmm. Please like, share, and subscribe. When it comes to sharing, we say, tell your mother, tell your brother, tell your secret lover, Studio Johnny Q. That's where we take that sweet, sweet nerd stuff and make it just a little bit better. And when you do the liking, you do the sharing, and you do the subscribing part, that gives you access to a bell notification, a bell icon. Hey, and when you do that, it rings the bell, and we say that every time that bell rings, a nerd is let out of a closet, and that is doing God's work. So.
Let out of the locker.
Out of the closet. Well, thank you, Randy. That's what happens when I'm running on autopilot.
We need another bell now.
That's yeah.
Specifically for the nerds that are let out of closets.
Yeah, that one's more like a Tinkerbell, like a higher pitch.
Hey.
I mean that in the best way possible.
I thought it, and then I dismissed it. It was like, wait a minute.
Well, I don't mean that in a bad way.
We need like a deeper tone bell.
A deeper. Well, yeah, it could be like that. I mean, it could be the one that they got over in Philly, man. I ain't trying to. I mean, that one's got a big, huge crack in it, right?
That's perfect.
Got a big,
the
huge
Liberty
crack.
Bell, it's got a crack. Like, it all works out.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, you can do your own math on that. Again, this is we start with stuff like this so that you can just know right off that if this isn't your cup of tea, hey, we're sorry. Keep it moving. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. All right, Randy. I think that may have actually got through all of our beginning stuff. Is that correct?
I believe so.
All right.
I would like to say today is the 2nd,
yes.
January 2nd. So happy buffet day.
Ooh.
Happy run it up the flagpole and see if anyone salutes it.
Wow. Let your freak flag fly.
And you know what? Happy Science Fiction Day, everybody.
Hey, happy Science Fiction Day. Randy, in Seattle, near the Space Needle, there is a really cool museum. I think it's called EMP, Experience Music Project. And I think at least one of the guys, maybe a couple of them from, I think Mike McCready and maybe one of the other guys from Pearl Jam was influential. And it's a music museum. And it's not... similar but different than Cleveland's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Smaller, but next to it they had a sci-fi museum, and it was tiny, but I think admission was free if you had tickets. What's that?
It was tiny but potent.
Yeah, and it had stuff like one of the things I really appreciated. It had like the phaser rifles on Star Trek Next Gen. It had stuff like that. Some really cool things like that, props and things. And it's really interesting when you see that stuff up close. It's like you see how horrible it is. It's kind of like we've talked about before, like stage makeup, right? There's a level of fidelity that you need, and which is low, and a level of contrast that you need, which is high.
That's part of the problem with, even just going to like Blu-ray or DVD from VHS.
Oh,
and some things. But and especially now with like 4K or TVs they're getting. Yeah, you see a lot of the stuff that you're not really supposed to see.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people, like live performers, who wasn't loving 4K.
Yeah, close-ups are a lot harsher than they used to be.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't go to that, original Star Trek. Whenever they would like show like a woman that they wanted you to think was pretty, they would smear like the lens with Vaseline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like I keep expecting them to do that with 4K, except for they don't have to do it for the ladies. They have to do it for the men, right? All these old sportscasters.
Just have to have it on there.
It's like whenever they put it on, some dude that's like 85. And it's just like now it's all blurry, so you don't have to. Your eyes don't have to be ravaged by looking at them in 4K. That's an amusing thought. Anyways.
Oh, just a PSA. Tomorrow apparently is fruitcake toss day, so good day to toss out your fruitcake, and also look out for flying fruitcakes. So you don't want to get hit by those in the head. You might be out for a while.
How about salad? Should we be concerned about the freshness of salad?
Well, you got to worry about that every day.
Okay, so there could be some potential tossing of the salad, is what you're telling me. No, that is not what I'm telling you. I was trying very hard not to tell you that. Thank you. Sorry. Apologies for that one.
Oh, and also, tomorrow is also the Festival of Sleep Day. So get some extra Z's.
It's a pretty low key celebration. Not a lot of people show up for the parade on that one, Randy. Maybe everybody goes out in sleeping bags. Maybe they're sleeping. It's like the opening of Star Wars or something. I don't know. Well, those are some fine holidays. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. We like to stay timely.
Yeah.
Like to stay timely, and we're hip. We're down.
We're cool.
Okay. What's next, Randy?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Didn't mean to cut out. Didn't mean to have a Macarenus interrupt us there. Macarenus. That's something altogether different, Randy. Man, I don't know if I like this direction that we're going, Randy. I don't think I like it. I think I love it. You see what I did there?
I do.
Did a little zigzag on you. All right.
Hold on a second. I got some maintenance issues here to do with.
Yeah, me too.
I was ignoring the chat because my window was too small to see it.
Is there anybody in the chat?
Yeah. Hey, JC, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Wow, I didn't know there was actually people listening. Sorry, JC. Didn't mean to assault you with all that ridiculousness. Glad that you hopped on. Thanks, brother.
He said, "Happy day after New Year."
Yeah, that's right.
Happy day after New Year to you too.
2020. Let's make it happen.
2020. Where are the flying cars? I assume that there's going to be a flying car waiting for me when I get home. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a comedian, and it's like, where the hell's my jetpack?
Yep.
I was promised by this time that I would have a jetpack. Mofo, I don't have it.
JC said, watching Star Wars in 4K, you can see where they messed up the paint on the props, but it's still really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Because now with Disney Plus, Randy, that's all in 4K.
Oh, yeah.
And I've just started kind of have them on, but I have them on like in the background. But yeah, I bet you can see that. There's probably a lot of things. Even in the old ones, you used to be able to see when they would have the space scenes, Randy.
Like
you'd have like a TIE fighter coming in or an X-Wing or something, right? And,
not necessarily like Star Wars, but
okay. And you'd have it coming in, and it was all in space, and so they would mat out like around the ship, and you would see where they would do it. And you couldn't see it in the theater, but when you see it on the on the TV screen, you could see these little shapes that always like move around them, and all the crap that Mofo did digitally re-editing those, he didn't fix that, I don't think. And I was just like, well, why wouldn't you fix that? That was the one part that you could have fixed. It wasn't going to hurt anybody's feelings. But nope. I did see in Star Wars where
I wonder why that is. That's weird.
They because the Disney Plus ones are still the Han shot second versions. The Lucas, you get what I give you, and you won't say anything about it. Yeah, if I try to portray George Lucas as being date rapey there, it's because I was trying to portray him as being date rapey. Take that, you bearded billionaire. He got his comeuppance there, Randy. That's what we call that. He's feeling it right now. He's feeling a strange disturbance.
He's so hurt.
As if $1 billion was suddenly placed into his bank account. Oh, sorry. But anyways, I digress. So Disney Plus, it's still the old version. So I was watching, and it was they included the scene that they had shot originally, which is Han getting into the Millennium Falcon and Jabba stops him before he gets on.
Yeah.
And so they include that. And originally they didn't know that Jabba was going to be a worm slug character. And so they had actually had a human who portrayed him that they thought they might just do something with, maybe put something over top of him. So they ended up, putting the Jabba. And so when he walks around him like he would a human, but he's walking on his tail, so they make it look like the Jabba's like, and he steps on his tail. And I thought, this guy had you hanging on his wall. I don't think he's just going to let you step on him. Like, you owe me money, and he's going to step on him. And I was like, it's funny, but one of the interesting things is it actually has Boba Fett is in that scene. And so it's like, I forgot that he actually was in that, but he got cut because he's like, one of his security guards or whatever. But yeah, that is interesting. I bet you some of the matte paintings, although those matte paintings are pretty gorgeous. I've seen quite a few of them up close. They had a traveling Star Wars exhibit. I think it was in Toledo, at the Art Museum in Toledo, Randy. And it was awesome. This was probably about the time of, I think this was right after episode 1. And it had some really cool. It had those Ralph. Oh man, his name is
Loren?
no Ralph Mar or something. Man, I hate his name is.
What are you looking for?
There was a concept artist for Star Wars, and did matte paintings. A lot of conceptual paintings and designs. Ralph Markey.
You're close. McQuarrie?
What's that?
McQuarrie.
Yeah.
Ralph McQuarrie. Most
Yeah, he
notable
did a bunch of stuff, and so it had a lot of his stuff. I actually had some of his stuff framed, and I got to see as a kid. I'd had a portfolio of his stuff that was from Jedi, and like one of them is where Luke is getting shocked by the Emperor, and I got to see that one, like the actual one of that, and it was like, man, those are actually pretty cool. But like a lot of the scenes, like the hangars and stuff like that, a lot of that is a painting. So it will be interesting to see how those things hold up in 4K.
We had seen, was it Mannheim Steamroller?
Okay.
Or
Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
One of those. That didn't they do Star Wars and we went to see it at the arena?
No, you and I, we went, and they did it was hosted by Anthony Daniels, right? C-3PO.
Yes.
And it was there was a live performance, I think, of all the orchestral music that was played along with scenes from the movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right. They had all that stuff out in the and like the foyer or whatever, and, atriums or
props and things.
Yeah, costumes. Yeah, and I didn't realize that because we kind of just went like beforehand, and we didn't get too much time to actually look at it. But they did have that. That was cool. Yep. Yeah, so it was very much like that. Getting to see, I think my favorite thing is I got to see a Millennium Falcon, and they had them really nice because they'd have them in these glass display cases so you could get really close to them and walk around them and stuff. And it was a Millennium Falcon that was it was larger than my art table.
It was what now? Sorry.
Millennium Falcon model that was larger than my art table.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And so, I mean, I got to be pretty much as close to it because you could like lean over it and you could see like the goofy decals and stuff. Like they would, because that, what kit bashing is? So kit bashing is like, taking like a bunch of like model parts,
basically how any, in any old film, how any of the spaceships were built, including like the Enterprise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's taking existing models and, bashing them together. Take a bunch of model kits and you bash them together. I think it's where the origin of the word comes from. And so you could see that they had like decals. So it was like Champion Oil or things like this, like decals I remember from car things as a kid, like have a nice day or something like that, And so you would never be able to see it, but they have all these things on it. It just gives it color and texture. And so it was really cool to see. I think I have a photo. I had a digital camera. It was like right at the dawn of digital cameras, and so I took a buttload of photos. So I think I have a zoom photo of some of the decals.
Nice.
Good stuff.
JC had said people are hoping that because Star Wars was released in 4K that they might release the original version solo shot first.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. I was thinking about this because people were hoping that when they released them in 4K that they might be the new, and I'm not certain that Disney has access to those. I don't know if they legally own the copies.
Yeah, I would have assumed that if he really didn't want those ever seen again, that he would have had that in the contract when he sold it.
Yeah, and also the distribution rights is Fox, right? It's the beginning of Star Wars, which I thought that was the beginning of, it was just Star Wars was the dun, 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 the Fox searchlight thing. So I think Fox owns those. I thought when I was reading about this very issue that it might be that Fox owns those, and so that's why they can't be released without their permission, and maybe they're not playing ball, something along those lines. So, yeah, and I don't know why, because you haven't. I would have been the first thing I would have done, right, before they had did the last 3 movies. I would have came out with the new Star Wars, Han shot first, to get a bunch of hype and sell them all again and sell box sets, and then you do it again once those next 3 movies come out. But yeah, I would think that if they had the ability to do it, they would have already done it, unless they were trying to make them
50.
better for 4K. Oh yeah, thank you. Let me do a little corner switch. But Randy, what do we have on our agenda for today, my good man?
So I was looking at Star Wars. Today's agenda is Castles.
Castles, yeah.
2019 review, 2020 plans, bargain bin review, and gaming/VR.
Ah, yes, Randy. Before I think I wanted to start with
JB. What?
Oh, dude, you've never had tacos,
dude.
Who's the guy on the Daily Show? Trevor Noah. Who talks about that?
Yeah, man.
This friend that he made. I think he's from
like created like in a lab.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
weird stuff.
And his friend from California. You know, he's from Africa. And he said about tacos. He's like, I've never had tacos. What's tacos? What are these tacos of which you speak? And he was like, you've never had tacos? And he described this experience that we've all had. It's like when you say it and someone you say no, and they're like, you what? Tacos? You can keep saying it, and the more incredulous you are, it doesn't make it any more likely that the answer is going to change. No, I've never had. You've never had tacos? And it's just like. Anyways, it was kind of like a little mini Christmas for the studio. We have access to a wonderful local comic book store here called Pack Rat Comics. And they sell all kinds of stuff, board games and figures, and you know that's where a lot of my figures have come from, you know, such as
sorry, you said board games. My mind went off on a tangent of what if the game was bored? It'd be so sad. Oh, this game is so bored.
Like these guys.
JC said he looked it up and Fox holds the rights for the original until May 2020. Until this May.
Until May 2020. All right. Well, we can look forward to it. Thank you for that for that fact finding mission. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd heard something about that. Well, I didn't know that. That's good, man. If they only have it till then, yeah, we can look forward to it because I would really love to see some of those originals in 4K. That would be great. But anyway, so Pack Rat Comics, they you know, sell figures like this. They sell games that are not bored, Randy, because you can't be bored in this place. It's awesome. But they about once a year they have a clearance sale. They have a really good Black Friday sale, and they have a seems like about once a year they do a clearance. And so they had a 40% clearance, like 3 tables of 40% clearance. So I wanted to show you some of the items that we found. So we have one of these that is Iron Man, but
what's the name of the place again?
It's Pack Rat Comics.
Cool.
Yeah, and
this is not sponsored.
No, not sponsored. I just think these guys, I love their shop. Here's a switch to the M50. Here you go, Randy. He lights up, little Star Lord guy. And we have an Iron Man that's the same Q fig. All the Q fig ones that they do are pretty cool, but these ones where they're in the air in particular and they light up, I'm a good fan of. Let's see.
Was the Iron Man the one I gave you?
Might have been.
I can't remember.
You know, I might have had that on a Christmas list. I think, Randy. I think you're right. This one's a little. We'll go for the ceiling on this one. These PVC figurines are amazing, and when you can get them 40% off. I want to try to really want to try my hand at painting these. You know, doing some airbrush and upgrading these. So whenever I can find them on deals, and especially something like this where the color scheme of her isn't too crazy, I thought this could be a good one to test with. So I got that 40% off. So that was pretty groovy.
40%.
We got for the holiday season, a really nice Harley Quinn.
Oh wow!
And I haven't opened this up yet. Let's take a look and see. They do all kinds of, you know, nerd culture has gotten so crazy. It's like there's 4 versions, I think, of this on the back, and then they'll do different. You'll sometimes find variants. So like there'll be a red and green, or a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, something or another. Randy, this says bottom, so it could get saucy. Spank
Look
it
out.
right on the bottom.
Oh.
Well, speaking of, this was her bottom. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. There we go. Isn't that cool, Randy?
That is cool.
Yeah. So, since we, I have some stuff here in particular at the moment.
What's the base look like?
Yeah, that's man, that's heavy. That's nice. Let me put her down.
The girl's never seen a speck of daylight in her life, has she?
No, she's I mean,
she's
come on,
quite
she's
pale.
albino. Give her a break, man. Yeah. It's
got the
heavy,
porcelain
and this
skin.
is really heavy too. Yeah, this is substantial. This is nice. The detail on her face is really nice. The paint job on her eyes, yeah, that is really nice. I like it when I see a figure and I don't instantly want to repaint it. Okay, so I think that's how she goes there. So yeah, and I actually had just took down the tree, our Star Wars Christmas tree, Randy, and a couple other of our seasonal stuff, and so I'm starting to work on some holidays. I know you like to always make things festive for the holidays. So
Yeah, I just took down all my grandma's decorations that I put up for.
oh, that's nice. That's nice of you, Rob. All right, this one I think I'm not going to leave. There is a classic tactical board game called Space Hulk, and Warhammer 40K. A big part of it is based on Space Hulk, right? And this kind of. Let me switch to the ceiling. So I got board game, right? And I'm gonna hurt myself if I hold this much longer. But and this game has been around for
Oh wow!
since
That's
the
cool.
80s, right? And it's
Really?
It's been around since, well, I remember getting a copy of this mid-90s, and
The thing in the back is like-
they had just, I think, started to remake it then. So it had been, so maybe late 80s. I don't know when it first came out, but and so this is a newer version of it. And they got really cool figurines, xenomorphs, and the Space Marines, and so
The thing in the back that reminded me of Battleship, the divider when you're playing Battleship.
says it's got 22. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, 22 Gene Stealer models. It's got 12 Space Marines. But so getting this at 40% off, I was like, I don't have a copy of this, and I'm thinking about potentially painting it and putting it up for sale on the shop.
Oh wow!
I would like to do that with some of these, and it's not a crazy amount of models, so it might be a good one to try that with. We have a Enterprise D by Diamond Select, and I found this lovely
Nice.
Romulan Bird of Prey. That's the same Diamond Select, so it's the same size.
Is that a try me button?
Yeah, I think.
Battery's dead.
Because that's why it's clearance, so the battery's probably dead in it. But and also with these, I'd like to try to paint these and enhance them. I think we could upgrade the paint jobs on this and the Enterprise. So this is
With glitter. There's gonna be glitter involved.
yeah.
Or who was it that said it was
Glitter torpedoes, full spread.
Craft
Engage.
and Arts herpes?
Yes, that's what JC.
Glitter. Hey
taught me
JC.
that glitter was the herpes of the craft world, and he is not lying. He said that I think his house is currently, if I remember correctly,
Oh, that's right.
still suffering. And then last but not least, Randy, Kobayashi Maru. No, this is Koda Bukiya. Be careful how you spell that on the internet if you're searching. RFX. Star Wars. This is a First Order Stormtrooper Executioner, and I really have always wanted to check out one of these kits. They're price prohibitive, so we get to check them out right now, though, Randy.
Sweet.
Because it was 40% off at Pack Rats.
40%.
All right. Let's see here. I'm not sure. It's a snap fit kit, Randy. So I'm really curious to see everybody who likes. If you like unboxing videos, I'm sorry, because you're hit this. Here, let me do all the unboxing off camera. All right, I think we got this, Randy. Randy, what else do we have on our agenda? I can work on this while we talk about, I think, the next topic.
I wanted to mention something, actually.
Yeah, please.
I just came across this thing about I was curious about teeth dentistry, where that's going, what advances are going to make. So I looked it up. If it is if there's any research into like regrowing teeth or anything like that, and apparently, much to my surprise, there is. There is an article. This is from NBCnews.com. The next revolution in dental care is about to begin. This is an article from last year, January 15th of last year. So it is talking about they have actually done research and testing on rats and things in the laboratory about how to regrow your teeth. There's several different methods for it. One, there's a chemical that can that they can use to try to, or a medication to get the pulp to generate new dentin, and basically that can fill in. There's another one for using lasers to try to stimulate the growth of the pulp too, to create new dentin. And they can be used either to make a cap more secure by replacing some of the dentin, rather than, it makes it more cushy, I think, so that you have, I guess, a large part of the cap failure is coming from the stresses of chewing and things. Okay. So that helps that keep that from happening. I think it deals with those stresses better. The laser light on the pulp regenerating dentin when they have to put a cap on.
Randy?
Yeah.
I don't know shit from apple butter. What's dentin?
Oh, the dentin is the material of your tooth, the bulk of it. It's underneath the thin layer of enamel.
Say that again. Sorry,
the dentin is the bulk of the tooth. It's the bulk of your tooth material.
Okay.
It's what your tooth is mainly comprised of.
Okay. So
and then it's covered with a thin layer of enamel.
Ingredients, dentin is listed first.
Yes.
That is correct, right? In the list of ingredients, the item that's listed first is the one is the largest concentration.
It should be.
I believe that is accurate.
I don't think it's always the case, but it's
what we say, kids.
Should be.
Don't take anything we say for. I mean anything. I'm certain most of what we say is inaccurate. But anyways, so dentin. Okay, and so you're saying that the primary risk to dentin was the chewing.
No, for if you have a cap, it used to be that they would.
Oh, okay. The stress on a cap would. Yeah. I gotcha.
So if you had like
Randy, I don't know what this sounds like on the thing. I don't know if you might want to
mute you.
Yeah, or just lower me or something.
I'm not gonna mess with your
volume. By the time you figure it out, I'm probably gonna have it open. So this is exciting, Randy. You're gonna totally appreciate this.
Are you done with the noise?
Yeah.
I think you're good. I'm gonna put you
okay
because you're talking and you're not gonna be able to hear.
Yeah, agreed. So the bottom of this guy's his feetsies. Here, you see how there's a shiny metal part on them, and this is magnetic. It's metal, so he'll just go.
Nice.
That is super cool.
That is.
So I think I might actually have to put them together right now. Then I think it's just all popped together. So I'm gonna work on this. I think while we talk.
That's awesome.
I'll pull them off away from the microphone. So. I'm sorry, Randy. It's always been a fantasy of mine to pull off a stormtrooper. But I don't want to do it on camera.
Wookie. Wait.
I'm a little bit shy. So I'd like to do it my first time. I want to be special. So anyways, you can keep going and I will participate.
Okay.
Oh, you were talking
yeah.
about dentistry. Also, since we're talking about
But I
dentistry,
have a whole bunch of jokes running through my head about.
yes, I bet you do.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
before I forget, just a PSA from the studio.
Uh-huh.
There's not teeth down there. There isn't. And when you think about it, it totally makes sense because just look at the shape of the gums. But anyways, you can keep going.
Okay, so the other one was talking about like the medication or whatever. So they can apply that to actually, like when they drill cavities and things, they can apply that and it fills in the space instead of using amalgam, which a lot apparently has mercury in, which isn't really good for you. They can just refill it with its own natural material, have it regrow and fill that hole itself. And then the other thing is actually regrowing a whole tooth, which they've right now it's not going to be something that we won't have for a long time. That we because it uses stem cells from embryos. So that's the state that it's in. The only place that they can find the cells to grow a new tooth currently is within embryo stem cells. So.
And then all those do is just give you baby teeth, and they just fall out. So what would be the value there? That kind of defeats its own purpose.
Wait, no. But they have actually done that with rats in the laboratory, and it's successful. But obviously, there's issues with human testing on that because embryo stem cells. So it's going to be a while before they find an alternative to that.
I kept trying to figure out how I was to get this stuff out,
but apparently it is possible.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I want to continue with the tooth talk. But
that was it.
This I couldn't figure out how I was supposed to get to this, and it's like, what? I see it's taped and it's in bags, but I can't figure it out. And then finally realized there's a lip here, and this piece pulls off. So I thought I would share my ignorant. There we go. So go ahead, Randy. So it sounded like to me what you were saying, if I can recap, that there was two things, right? There was one was about regrowing teeth, and that's problematic because you got to use stem cells.
Yeah.
And so we have been
that's the holy grail.
That is the holy grail.
And apparently it is possible, but
right.
We're not going to have that anytime soon because
because all it is baby teeth, and who wants them? And
although I'm hopeful because originally we thought the only place to get any stem cells at all was embryos.
And
now we find that there's different types of stem cells. I think it's been a long. I haven't looked into it that far, but I think I've heard things saying that seem to be suggesting that there's different types of stem cells that are present in. Most of the cells in the body, potentially.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Or most areas.
And then the other one, it sounded like what you were saying more was focusing, and it's multitasking, so I might not have got this accurate, but was more about the dentin and about promoting the growth of dentin. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And that was the stuff that you were saying that they seemed like they had a couple different techniques that they could use, lasers, pew-pews, and
a medication or a chemical. Mm-hmm.
I for one endorse pew-pew dentistry. I think it's a growing, burgeoning field. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and so most of the case when you get a filling, it's not really part of the tooth, so it can come out. You have a filling that falls out or fails. Well, the dentin produced by stimulating the stem cells with this chemical, which is something along the lines of tidoglucin. It integrates itself completely within the tooth because it is actually part of the tooth. That there's no risk of the filling coming out.
Okay, yeah. So you're making a filling with kind of growing tooth back instead of something, and then that's when you were saying too that like you put caps on and those things because of stress could end up just breaking off and so on and so forth. Huh. Interesting.
So it sounds like those things are quite close to happening.
Yeah, that's cool. That is really cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, because
I know in Star Trek Next Generation, they were talking about that they had some sort of like coating that they put on your teeth when you were born, I think, or as soon as you had your adult teeth or something. But it was part of the process.
It's called fluoride, Randy. They put it in the water so that you obey the government.
It is.
It makes
it's
you
like
more docile.
trifluoride, I think, something like that. Star Trek Next Generation tooth care.
It was dilithium fluoride, Captain. I'm brushing it with all she's got, Captain.
That's if you want your teeth to glow.
I can't brush it any further, Captain. I'm
getting
getting it down to the bare tintin. There's gonna be a breach of tintin, Captain.
I think it was called trifluoride. I'm not seeing it right now. But they put it on once, and then you never had a cavity your entire life because they were protected by.
And this was in Star
coating.
Trek. It was
Star Trek Next Generation.
Still no cure for male pattern baldness though. Apparently.
Apparently, maybe that was a choice.
It was, yes, because that's what every man does is chooses to be bald.
Hey, he pulled it off.
Yeah, he does.
He looks good bald.
I think he doesn't look like he's aged from like. I mean, those first episodes were like what, the late '80s.
That sounds right.
And we still didn't watch that. We're doing that today, son. We're watching that Picard trailer. Yeah, you got to watch that. You may just have to take a few minutes while I'm putting this together and watch it on your own. Oh yeah, this snaps together real nice.
It was, 1987, Star Trek Next Generation.
87. I didn't start watching it. I don't think until the 90s. I think I didn't start watching it until the third.
Oh really?
Fourth season. Yeah.
Huh.
I remember actually having a conversation with JC's dad one time, and he was like, "Have you seen this one?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "Have you seen this one?" I was like, "No." "Have you seen it?" "No." He's like, "Man, you haven't seen anything." I was like, "Yeah, and guess how awesome it is that there's this amazing show, and I get to watch all these for the first time." Take that. Yeah, actually, it was JC's family, I think, that kind of really got me into the Star Trek Next Gen. This guy is pretty cool, I have to say. I'm a fan of these. I think I was also leery of these, Randy, because I knew that there was some assembly required. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid of work. Oh, wait. Okay, I just realized this guy has 4 arms. I think that this may be the god of stormtroopers, Randy.
The god of stormtroopers?
Well, because how many stormtroopers you ever met that had 4 arms? What,
That's awesome. You should make one like that. That's cool.
Yeah, see? Let's see here. Hold on. Look at that, Randy. 4-armed. So I get to choose. Apparently, I get choices. We like choices. All right.
I just thought of a really cool monster for D&D.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to tell me?
I don't know. Do you want me to tell you now, or you want to save it and use it?
Well, how could I possibly know the answer to this, Randy? You're the one that has the information. I can't make an informed decision until you tell me. And at that point, it'll probably be too late to say, no, don't tell me.
JC said something. Hold on 1 second. What is this, the Dark Ages? Take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Sorry. He said, I bet he liked that comment. I grew up watching Star Trek because Dad subscribed to Star Trek Club and they sent him episodes on VHS.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They did, yeah. We had marathons, a couple marathons. And then I thought that he had all of them, but he had stopped at one point, and I was like, oh, crap. But TNT had just done them, had gotten, I think, the rights to it. And... or it may have been when they first became Spike TV, and they played, I think it was like a Labor Day weekend, and they played Star Trek from like the start of Friday to the end of Monday or something like that, and I recorded it all, and we ended up watching some of those. It's really interesting when if you want to do a marathon of Star Trek Next Generation, Randy, it's like, how do you go about that, you know? If you could do 16, 20 episodes of Star Trek, you know, how do you go about doing that? And there's a lot of themes that you could do with Star Trek Next Generation, right? You could do... Are you listening to me?
Yep.
um, talking about Star Trek and themes. Like if you were going to do a theme party for Star Trek,
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of options you could do, because you could do episodes that were with Q.
Oh,
You could do a Q themed one, holodeck.
Well, I mean, you got all the different alien races and stuff potentially too. So
Yeah, but I mean, there's some, I think, easy ones like that hop into, like, you have ones that deal with Q. You can do one that just like
Yeah.
you could do a marathon that dealt with like holodeck stuff, right? You could do a theme of Star Trek that was, I think one of the ones that we did dealt with kind of Worf's storyline. That's kind of interesting. You just focusing on his saga.
JC said Riker's beard or bust.
What do you say?
Riker's beard or bust.
Riker's beard, yeah. I don't know. Is there a bigger tool in the galaxy than Riker? I see him when he does that thing where he sits in a chair and he doesn't pull it out and sit down, Randy. He just straddles it, because that's the kind of man he is. He's yeah, Riker. I think he is probably my least favorite person on the crew.
So if we did a Star Trek themed party,
Uh-huh.
I think it would have to be a Ryza themed party,
Ooh,
just to make it interesting.
Yeah. Right. So I see what you're doing there. Are these two different weapons?
What?
I'm not familiar with my shock trooper weapons, Randy.
Oh.
I think maybe one of these goes in one hand and one of these goes in the other, or do these things combine? Or, I think one of them, they give you options. I'm not used to options, Randy. It confuses me when I get options.
So are those clicking together, or are they magnets?
These all click, but he stands.
That's interesting.
He stands.
Yeah, you think that? Well, okay. I guess maybe it's a little.
They pop in and out, so that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's still really cool. I'm just surprised. Like they use magnets for that. I'm surprised they didn't use magnets for the attachments as well.
Oh, magnets are expensive, Randy.
Yeah.
You just can't get willy-nilly with magnets. Just like, you get a magnet, and you get a magnet. Oh, man, I'm going to break this guy.
Don't break him. What if there's something to be said about the clearances for either manufacturing a snap-together piece or doing one? Well,
these are some of the nicer snap-togethers I've ever had the pleasure of wrestling with. And that's actually man, I can't find a good spot to get him to.
It's like the M50s.
Oh, did he get a little wonky wonk?
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I will see if I can get it to play nice. And all right, Randy, what else do we have on our? Yeah, looks like that helped. You know what? I won't. I'm just gonna pop his head on. Get on there! You take that!
JC said, fun fact, Jonathan Frakes had back problems, so standing for long periods would hurt, so the famous Riker lean was born to alleviate the pain.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
I listened to, there's a really good interview actually on the Nerdist. All of the interviews that they have with people from the next gen are really good. The one where he talks with Picard, and he says he talks about he came from this Shakespearean actors background, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was he thought that there was a certain way that you were supposed to work and do things and so on and so forth. And you know what? I do want to see this in his hand. The completionist in me needs it. And so you would work such long hours on set. And so people would do things just to kind of, break the monotony. You get silly and stuff like that. And you'd be like, you guys are being entirely too silly. We need to be focusing on the work,
Yeah.
And he said, I was just a real dick that first year. And he said, and then, I just didn't realize it, that's what you actually need to do. And so they talk about that he changed and he became one of the sillier people throughout the course of the show,
Yeah.
and it's just neat.
I think at some point he said like they taught him how to be funny or something.
Yeah.
They taught him how to relax and have fun. Or
Yeah.
something. I can't remember if it was that or I think it was that where Next Generation, where at one point they had a guest director or something maybe, and he was not used to that situation, and he pissed him off.
That's funny.
They pissed him off, and can't remember if he ended up walking or what, or if that's at what point that Picard had a talking to with the cast of the first season. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that was he had a come to Jesus meeting with them, and they're like, dude, you're gonna have to lighten up, son. I don't know, Randy. I would really like this guy just to have the one leg, but I don't think the magnetics are gonna work.
No.
I bet you that the stormtroopers probably do not have a specially abled program. I'm gonna guess that they probably don't. They probably don't look to hire a lot of differently abled people.
Although they just would make them into androids, probably, or cyborgs.
I guess it depends too. If they were the clones, right?
Yeah.
They'd probably just melt them down and grow another one. Wow, that's cool. Look how easy he stands.
Although if you have the ability to grow a clone, maybe they have the ability to regrow their limbs too. But yeah, would it be worth it? I guess there is a maturation time, so maybe it would be worth it to regrow a limb as opposed to just entirely scrap one. But they can mass produce them so much. I'm gonna get really into thinking about this now.
Good. All right, Randy, check out how easy this guy sits on the stand. Boom.
Nice.
That is one of the coolest things I've seen in all my nerdling days, Randy. And you know what? We probably need some more light. I got to see that the brackets are.
That's cool.
No, that doesn't help either. So,
what have you got here? 2020 plans and the Grand Castle for Quasitown.
Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and just one last shot here. Let's get a little zooming action on our guy here.
Oh, did you get that thing I sent you for VR? It was Doctor Who VR.
Oh, is that what that was?
For PlayStation.
I saw that you had sent me something and I didn't know what it was yet. I'm sorry. Let me switch to a different camera so I don't make people vomit. Yeah, I saw something that was the new Doctor, right?
What?
It had to do with the new Doctor.
I just saw the Doctor Who VR. That's all I saw.
Oh, okay. When it came up with the female Doctor, and I'm just getting ready to watch that. I finished that Twice Upon a Time, and it ends with her appearing. Right? It's the death of Peter Capaldi's Doctor. And, yeah, but let me see here.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I was going to say spoilers, but but that's.
Oh my God, that's awesome! I have to do that.
That's pretty Disney.
That's cool.
And this guy's head moves really nicely too because it's ball and socket. And then then it had two sets of arms, and then it has a different attachment, so you could have it to where this is sprung. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this guy. He's probably going to get some battle damage though. I think he's going to have taken some laser blasts and is going to get some grime. And I love though how easy he just walks. So that was the last of the 40% items. Again, shout out to
that one piece looked like a batleth or something.
Yeah, to
modified batleth.
To Pack Rat. Those guys. One of the things that they do at Pack Rat, they have that like free comic book day.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they do some things for especially kids that are within the autistic spectrum have high sensitivity to like things like lights and sounds and crowds and stuff like that. And they'll close their shop and open it up so that people like that can go in with with the lights down and
that's awesome
without crowds and yeah, I think that's super duper. I think that's really groovy. So big shout out to those people. All right, so Randy, this was the castle piece. You may remember I said, really, this is what all that we were able to do was to make this piece of crap. But this is just the beginning of something that's going to look really, really cool. So we've got this and all these other castle pieces to work on. I've got, here they are starting to fall. I've already got these, Randy. These are all been base coat, Black Magic Craft base coat. He always subscribes, taking your foam and covering it with the Mod Podge.
Mew Pew.
Or also known in the vernacular as the Mew Pew. So we got that.
Mew Pew.
And there's another one over here. That's also... Some of these I'm going to hit again. And again, I really should Mod Podge this first, Randy, without putting the bricks on. It would make it so much easier. Because now it's like I get white spaces in between the bricks. So that's actually last night I was just trying to use some really watered down Mew Pew. I added some H2O to the Mew Pew. And to get it to where it got all up in them cracks. And then we also, Randy, on the last show, we were working on our glue holder. And so it's, both of these can take some dry brushing. So I think that's actually what I'm going to be working on while we continue our next line of conversation. I guess I can get the Mod Podge out of my way here. I did, one of the things I wanted to talk about, Randy, I want to mention to you a little bit about Patreon. Patreon is something that we'll be looking to implement here probably in the next month. And I don't know if you're
patronizing me.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying not to. Are you familiar with Patreon at all?
A little bit.
Okay.
In that I've heard references to it and know that people use it, and generally what they use it for.
Yep.
Other than that, I've never been on it myself.
Okay.
Yet.
Yep. So Patreon is, you think of the term being a patron of the arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And arts survive a lot through patronage, and that's the way it's always been. Well, there was some artist, I think it was Pomplamoose, yeah, and that they make these music videos, and they were really successful with them, but they realized they really weren't able to monetize any of that success and interest that they had, and they ended up creating Patreon. Or I think Jack, I think, is half of Pomplamoose. He created, I believe, Patreon, and it's a way for people to support people who do things like arts and things like that. And one of the things that you'll see is people who do like YouTube videos or different things like that will use Patreon. And what you do generally is most people, a lot of times you'll see it's a monthly thing, and where people contribute, and there's different tiers, and typically you get different things for the different tiers. Some people don't want to do what they consider a paywall with it, Randy. They, it's like, I don't want that. There's this wall that you can't get access unless you pay. And so some people won't do that, but they'll do have different tiers so people can give different amounts. But we're looking to implement that. One of the things that I'm looking to implement with the Patreon is thinking about doing each month do a handful of like miniatures that we paint up, and have a tier that's for people that would like to get a miniature every other month or something like that. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. So as we talk about 2020 and the year forward, that was one of the things I did actually want to take a note to mention, because that is something that will be coming in the future. So if people are looking to support the channel, ultimately that's an amazing way for them to do that. I've been a Patreon supporter, I bet you probably about 3 years now, and I've been backing 3 or 4 YouTube creators. And I've always felt really good about it, because the way I used to think about it, Randy, was if I saw this guy at a bar, would I go buy him a shot? Would I buy him a beer? I was like, hell yeah. if I ran into this guy once a month, I would definitely buy him a shot once a month. So it's like, it's like, all right, well, maybe I'll pitch $5 to this guy. Somebody like BMC, who, he was the first person that I started following on Patreon. And it's like, I really dig what this guy's doing. And so that's something that people are interested in. It's a huge support, and it's creating an opportunity for people to do things like we're doing, these little micro sort of businesses. So anyways, if that's something that you're interested in, it's something that we'll be providing more information on over the course of this month.
Nice.
So, anyways. All right. I don't know if I want to start on this or I want to start on the other piece. I want to get this thing done, I think, so I might just start on. Randy, check this out. We used the purple and the green metallics on it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here.
It's blurry.
Yeah, it is. It surely is. Let me see here. No, that's not a good angle of it. I don't know why. I'm having a hard time with that.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Sweet.
Kind of interesting. It'd be funny because, most of this is going to go away. Because I'm going to hit it with some grays, some dark grays. And
right now it kind of looks like some sort of meteorite or something.
yeah. But I'm hoping that, that some of this will still, remain through, especially in the recesses.
So, that's cool.
All right. So I'm going to, I think, work on layout.
Still say you can put some craft herp on it.
Some what?
Some craft herp. Craft
No!
herpies.
The glitter's in the paint, that way it doesn't have to get everywhere. I don't want my glue tower to get the herp, the craft herp.
What did you use the color shift paints on that, or
they're craft color shift, so you can figure out what that might or might not mean. Here, let me just make a mess of everything. There we go. That'll work. All right, so I'm gonna do some dry brushing. This is gonna I'm not gonna do dry brushing. I'm gonna do some almost like a base coat. I want a big brush. A big brush. This will be this will work. And I need something to put some paint on. This will work here. Randy, I know one of the things I also was wanting to talk about is some gaming. That's a topic that I wanted to talk about. I know there's a couple things. One, I got a gift. Friend of our studio, Chris, gifted Rocksmith Slayer song pack. So
Nice.
I was really super stoked to get that. You saw actually when he sat on the computer, I was downloading it. So that was pretty righteous.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about it. I've been playing Rocksmith over the course of the last year, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Let me see here. I need to get my paint. I have been a long-time lover of the musics, and I think it was probably around 95. I ended up buying a bass guitar from somebody I worked with. It was used, and I played in bands in middle school, and so I had that kind of knowledge of music. But I never had anybody teach me anything about, instruments or anything like that.
Don't talk. No, it's okay.
And and so I always just noodled around on it, and wasn't very good with it, but just noodled around with it for probably about a decade, and got a lot of enjoyment out of it. And then when I'd moved into my last house, it fallen and broke. I busted the nut, Randy.
Oh.
Whoa, see? Even just thinking about it makes me drop my brush. Because, man, ain't nothing worse than busted nuts, right? I think I'm going to get me a glove while I do this. And so the nut, Randy, is the...
I'm waiting. Tell me all about it.
The nut. Son, you going to tell me something about the nut? Please. I was raised on the nut.
Oh, God.
Good times.
Okay, now I need to see that clip of I was raised on the dairy,
I was raised on the dairy.
with a squirrel saying I was raised on the nuts.
That was from I believe it's a Mad TV clip where they were having fun for a while doing spoofs of Kenny Rogers. That Kenny Rogers was basically Jackass. This is there's Kenny Rogers Jackass, and he would do. They were doing the milk challenge about you can't drink a gallon of milk in a minute. It's like humanly impossible. And that's what I think he tells him. Son, I was raised on the dairy. Good stuff.
Jason said he still has his bass, but it's collecting dust.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, And so when I moved, the nut, Randy, is at the top of the neck, right before you get to like the tuning pigs. That's what holds that in. And if that breaks, basically it means that you can't fret an open note. So where normally on a string that's open, you would pluck it, like the deepest string is the E string. And I couldn't play an E note, an open E, because it would play it as if it was fretted the first one up. So it greatly reduced my desire to play it, and I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to get somebody. I'm going to pay somebody to fix it. I'm going to fix it myself. Back and forth. And so actually when we sold the house, and I got some Christmas money as well, I ended up buying a couple of instruments. I bought a guitar and a bass. And I got Rocksmith and have been playing it. Oh my gosh, I cannot tout the virtues of Rocksmith anymore. It's basically, for anybody that doesn't know, pretty much everybody's familiar with Guitar Hero and Rock Band. It's basically that very thing with real songs, but you use real instruments.
And it's adaptive to you.
Yeah. So you can play it to where like it'll only throw you some of the notes, and then as you start to land those notes, it'll give you more notes. And I'm playing a mode now, Randy. It's called nonstop play, and you can build a list and of songs, and then like you can do it in a bunch of different ways. You can say, I'm going to play for. Usually it's like, I'll sit down and I'll have it set for like 20, 25 minutes or something like that. And then it'll pull up songs. And I think right now I have it on random, but you could do it on like recommended or last played. So you could have a list and, you just want to constantly keep going through them and play the song that you haven't played last. And it's really easy to skip to the next song. And then you can, just like in Rock Band and those other things, you can slow it down and you can focus on a phrase, so you can slow down the solo part and focus on it. So it's an amazing way to learn music, and you're playing real music, and it just feels so much fun. And so I've been doing that for about a year now.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
JC, when you get a chance, buddy, let me know if you're experiencing any audio issues, because I think it's just the playback that I'm listening to, the 30-second delay. It's really choppy right now, so let me know if you're experiencing that too, or if it's clear for you, please.
Oh, and Randy, too, you can always look to make sure that I'm not secretly uploading files to the Google Backup. If you look in the system tray, there's a thing for the Google Backup, and you can right-click it and pause it if it is uploading. Something to be mindful of.
Hold on.
All right.
I think it's probably the playback, because I'm playing it back on it should be using your Wi-Fi, and you're uploading.
And my Wi-Fi's been really flaky lately too, so yeah.
Something keeps going on where my phone apparently is disconnecting from the Wi-Fi during these streams, so I end up losing my monthly kickback because it says I go over my data.
Oh.
I don't know what's up with that, but anyway.
Well, that's not groovy.
Okay. Thanks, JC. He said it sounds good, so
okay.
It's just the playback. So
okay.
You're getting an occasional echo, and that's just from, it's not that bad. It's from mic bleed, because our gains are high.
Especially if I move, if I'm picking something up, and I notice that if I'm in between the two mics, then I'm getting some echo.
Yeah, I try to block this one with my body, but it's so sensitive that it will pick you up pretty well, even if we mute your mic.
I'm easy,
from across
Randy.
the room.
I'm not hard to pick up. I mean, I'm cheap.
This mic knows you're a cheap date.
Yeah, I am.
Let's see here.
Should I take my clothes off now or later?
That's your pickup line.
That's my response to whatever their pickup line is.
I thought you just went up to random people and just stated that. That was. That was your by way of greeting.
Someone comes up, you smell like peanut butter. You want me to take my clothes off now or later?
It's better as a response, no matter what they say to you.
You want I should leave my clothes on?
JC said the echo is not distracting. So.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Alrighty, we were talking about something, and I'll be honest, I totally forgot.
I got distracted by that. Let's see.
That's fine.
Hey, JC, you remember?
Oh, we were talking about gaming. Yeah, we were talking about gaming and Rocksmith.
Yep.
Yeah. So we talked about Rocksmith. So I've been playing it for about a year now, and I ended up like Steam. They'll have it on sale. They'll have the songs on sale, and usually like a song will be $3, right? And they'll go on sale for like $40. So you're getting it for like $1.60 or something like that per song. And when you think about it, it's the bass. You can play bass. You can play guitar, lead, or rhythm. So it has all the parts for that. You can slow them down. You do all that stuff. It has the lyrics. And yeah, so it's like for $1.60, yeah, that's for some pretty good. That's some pretty good value. And I ended up purchasing, I don't know, it was at Christmas last year. I think I ended up buying like $100 worth of songs, and that's basically been my education this year on learning music, and I couldn't be happier with it. And I just purchased a couple more songs. Yes. So I was excited that Chris got the Slayer pack, because that was actually one that I was eyeballing, and they had a Jimi Hendrix pack, and it's like Jimi Hendrix pack 1 through 4, so it's like all the Jimi Hendrix songs for like $17 or something.
Nice. And
it was just like, how do I not?
I still need to get. I'm still suffering from analysis paralysis on the laptop.
Oh, yeah.
So that I can actually use mine.
You know, Randy,
my Rocksmith.
You should probably just. We should probably just do it on PlayStation for you. You could get it on the PlayStation.
Oh. So it works as well?
I think so, yeah. But the reason that I don't do it is because I can't transfer my library. Because my library's through Steam. But, I mean, there isn't really any reason that would matter.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that. You could do that. So, yeah. And I think that the cord that you use, I think, is the same cord. And you can probably pick up the software dirt cheap. But... anyways.
Yeah, actually, I think I saw it on sale recently for really cheap. Although,
but anyways, so yeah, I've been enjoying the hell out of that. So that was the one thing I wanted to talk about. Man, it's really neat because I get to see how different people approach music. You know, so actually seeing how these different people are doing songs. Because one of the things I like to say, there's a Beastie Boys line that says there's only 12 notes that a man can play. And it's true, you know, you think about it, it's very intimidating. You look at a guitar, you look like a piano, because there's a lot more than 12 keys on a piano, right? But there's only 12 notes because they all start to repeat themselves. They're just a different pitch higher or pitch lower. So when you start to break it down, there's only so many combinations of music. So why does it sound so different? You know, there's a lot of different things of the way that people will play. The same artist could play the same song, and they could, I mean, even just trying to play them straight up, like not trying to do their freaky version of it. And it could be very different, you know, the way you pluck strings, the way you mute them, the way all kinds of different things. And then effects is such a huge part of it as well. And that's the other thing too with Rocksmith, is it mimics the effects that they use in the song. So, you know, if you just have a guitar and an amp, you're going to play the notes. You can play them exactly the way that, you know, I don't know, the guy in Pink Floyd's playing the solo, and it's not going to sound like that because you don't have the echo and the delay and the overdrive and the compression and, you know, all that stuff. So it uses those effects, and at any time you could, you know, if you just say, hey, I just want to play around playing with those effects, then it has a mode where you can just pull up, you know, I want to pull up the effects for, I want my bass to sound like Pearl Jam's Black sounds or something like that, and you can actually pull that up. So again, that's where I think there's value in those. But seeing how different people, you'll see areas of that people are constantly using on the neck, and just seeing, you know, how they approach those notes. It's really interesting. It's a lot of fun. It's been great. So nice. That's definitely I've been spending a lot of time, and it's funny because I'll leave it on a lot of times in the computer. I'll forget to like back out of the application. So Steam thinks that I've played this game for like 1,500 hours or something like that. It's just because I've left the computer on. But I have played. I bet you I probably averaged playing 30 plus minutes a day every day last year, and I didn't necessarily play every day, but I'd averaged over 30 minutes a day, and man, what a difference that makes. Just playing just a little bit every day, man, it's amazing the progress that you can see. Really cool, really cool. And even when you don't if you don't play every day, it's like just playing a little bit and then coming back a week later, that mattered. It matters a ton. Matters a ton. So, and I because I'd played so long, I hadn't played for 10 years, so I'm really falling in love with music again and playing music. And yeah, it's just been a really refreshing experience. So that was one of the gaming things that I wanted to talk about, Randy. Another gaming thing I wanted to talk about, and this is just really quick because we like the Star Wars, but I'm playing the Star Wars Fallen Order, I think is what it's called. It's a Star Wars Jedi game. It's called Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I wanted to note is I call it affectionately a ginger Jedi because he's redheaded. And as a ginger, I'm allowed to say that because I am one. Because I also don't have a soul. I'm allowed to say that. That you don't see a lot of male redhead leads. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but we don't tend to make it into mainstream media very much. And if we are,
it's the freckles. They throw off the contrast.
Oh well, I get it. We're ugly. We're ugly as homemade dog poop. So yeah, I get it.
Whatever.
I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at us either. I get it, right? I'm not condemning people. It is funny though. If you look, that redheads are not. We're not romantic leads. And we typically, there's a reason why the phrase "beaten like a redheaded stepchild" is applicable. But but the Jedi in this is redheaded, so I thought it was interesting. So I'm enjoying my ginger Jedi. I'd enjoy it if he was whatever hair color he'd have, but I do think it's funny. It's a beautiful game, man. It's lovely, and you played it just a little bit. It was like because I wanted you to like deflect back a blaster bolt, and it was like, oh, wasn't that gratifying?
Yeah, it was.
It was just awesome. Like, oh, you got to at least do this a couple times because it's like, man, isn't that fun? It's like, ooh. And then you get excited. It's like, come on, fire at me. Come on, stormtroopers. Fire your blasters at me, you sissy.
I kept waiting. And then they started taunting me because it was a part of the of that section where they didn't want me to do that.
Yeah, because then you go on the ones that
fire.
like the guy that we just had, right? They have like the shock sticks, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, come on, shoot me. He's like, I'm not stupid. I'm not shooting you. I just seen you kill 5 people.
They kept taunting me. They were like, oh, you can't take us. And they wouldn't fire at me. They just kept taunting me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me see here. I'm going to...
JC said, Fallen Order, I've heard good things about.
Yeah.
It's close to how Dark Souls plays, which is another one of my favorites. If you haven't played that, check it
out. I've heard really good things about Dark Souls. Isn't that one of the ones that... There's a couple games that I hear a lot of really positive things, but they say they're punishing. And I thought Dark Souls was one of those where it's like... people say it's worth it, but it can be really punishing to get through some of the levels. Is that true for Dark Souls, or am I confusing that with something else? But I do know that Dark Souls does get a lot of love. It's funny too because a lot of these games. It's funny. I remember JC. He had turned me on to a game, Prince of Persia. This would have been like probably an early PlayStation game, and a lot of games since have borrowed mechanics heavily from that Prince of Persia game. Level design and the way like you'll come into a place and it'll show you where you're supposed to be, like where it wants you to go to at the end. So they would do that a lot of times, like it would come into the room and it would show you the end and then come back, and so you had to figure out how to get there. Like that's kind of the game is figuring out how to get to there. and a lot of games since then have heavily borrowed on that. And then also I'm noticing a little bit with the Jedi Fallen Order. Seems like it's incorporating a little bit of from the last Zelda game, the Breath of the Wild game, because typically, Randy, Zelda games would use dungeons. You'd have like the overworld and you'd have dungeons. But it didn't do this. You had puzzle rooms. So you didn't have dungeons, but instead you had these puzzle rooms. And this kind of has a little bit of that. You know, you're going in there and it's about figuring out, turning this thing on and pushing this thing in so that a ball goes into a socket sort of thing. So yeah, heavily.
Jesse said Dark Souls requires patience, but the world building, level design, and how it doesn't hold your hand is one of a kind.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to, because it goes on sale all the time. I'll have to give that a. I actually may even own a copy of it. It might be on Steam. I picked up a couple of games too over the last several months, Randy. That Gloomhaven is a board game that has gotten a crazy amount of hype over the last couple of years. It's like a D&D type of game. It's really involved.
What is it called?
It's called Gloomhaven. It's cost about $100.
Ooh.
It's got a box that's the size of that Space Hulk or bigger, and it's just packed with stuff. And it's a lot of the games, a lot of board games, they do this thing called Legacy. Pandemic was one of the first ones that did it, and it was really successful. And it hold on 1 second.
Sorry, I'm looking at the PlayStation VR games. They do have Doctor Who, The Edge of Time. It looks really cool. I think we're going to definitely have to check that out.
Okay.
And also, there's a surgery simulator,
Yeah.
which isn't your thing, except I think you'll be okay with this one. And there's a picture of a guy holding a hammer. The surgeon's holding a hammer at some point. And there's an alarm clock inside the guy. So, I don't know. That looks a bit goofy. But I'm really excited to check out the
I'm gonna need you to help
the Doctor Who one.
M50.
M50?
It froze, and it's giving.
M50.
It is giving signal. So yeah, if you could
What is
fix that in the background.
Oh, there's something called Time Machine VR, which looks like it might be really interesting too.
All right.
We're gonna check that out today, JB.
Yeah.
If you got
so,
time, we gotta put you in the Star Trek.
Yeah.
Bridge command.
Yeah. So me and Randy post show today are going to be playing with VR, and that's one of the reasons also I wanted to talk games today. Randy, was that we could talk about that. We're going to be checking out some PlayStation VR, and in particular, one of the first ones is the Bridge Commander, or it's not Bridge Commander, it's called something else, but there was a game called Bridge Commander that really reminds me of it. But basically, you get to be in VR, and you're sitting in a captain's chair. Right, Randy, you can describe it better. You've actually played it. I haven't. Tell the good people.
I'm trying to
tell the good people about that game and your experience thus far with it.
Hold on. Let me fix this real quick.
Randy, now.
I'm trying
to fix it. I'm joking. Do all the things I tell you simultaneously right now.
Bear with me for a second.
I
should have put on the studio effect here, so I wouldn't be doing this on.
Right.
Check M50 now. I don't think that worked.
Okay, I might need to.
Oh, no, it's not. Hold on, let me try the.
Yeah, it's froze. It's still froze. I can do a reset when you want, and I am getting a signal from it. All right.
Let's try this. Yeah, no, it's not letting me do it.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't got me.
That's fine. Let me just take it out of here. There you go. By the way, it is 1:30.
Yeah. Do you want to talk? I was asking you to talk about Bridge Commander, but we can come back, or not Bridge Commander, whatever it is, Starfleet.
Okay.
But
actually,
we can talk.
JC had left another comment. If you do pick it up, a couple of tips. The graveyard with the skeletons is not the starting area. Turn around. If you're stuck, explore and don't level resistance.
Word.
Your mother. Okay, so Bridge Command.
Before we do that, though,
Yeah.
do you want to? We
Health
didn't
minute?
do a mental health minute. Did
Okay.
you want to?
Oh, also, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New
If we
Year.
actually said that or not.
Oh yeah.
After we do mental health minute, we can talk about what you did for holiday or
Yeah.
whatever. So mental health minute, did you have anything in particular?
No, we before had talked about the don't worry, be happy, and the be yourself was all you can be, and we never really fully got into it. We can if you want,
Okay.
or if there's anything else that you
I
had.
didn't have anything in particular really, except so I started looking for like trying to find a daily, like a daily mental health tip sort of thing,
Yeah.
just to see if that sparked something. I actually didn't find anything that I found a lot of stuff that I wasn't looking for. That a lot of it seemed kind of sappy or didn't really apply to what I was looking for at the moment. But I did come across one that says, "I am the architect of my life. I build its foundations and choose its contents," which is good, but I like what it's a little bit wordy and cerebral, I think. But I like, I am the captain of my own ship. I steer my own destiny. I think somehow that's more visceral.
I am the master of my own domain.
It's more, yeah, it kind of puts you in
That
the
was
physical.
That was a Seinfeld
like
one
you-
where they were
you are
refraining
at
from
the-
masturbating.
Yeah, you are at the helm there. You're at the wheel and you're steering it yourself.
Oh yeah, I am.
And that's cool. That's like, don't let everybody else tell you what to do. Don't think you have to do what you think everyone else wants you to do. Take control. Realize that you are in control of your own life, your own thoughts. How you react to stuff is so much just how you are choosing to react to stuff, whether you know it or not. So once you can realize that, step back and take a look and examine what you're feeling and why, and what thoughts you're having that are the root of those issues, then you can start to realize that, oh yeah, I am actually creating my existence in this way by what I am choosing to think and how I am choosing to react to things. So you actually do have control over that, and by exercising that control, realizing and exercising it, you can get better at dealing with that kind of stuff. And this is one that's for me been really, really helpful. Is I am the captain of my own ship and I steer my own destiny.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I think that and that a lot of times when we're feeling moments of mental distress, it's easy to feel helpless and trapped and powerless.
Yeah.
And yeah, you definitely have way more control than you always feel like you do in those moments.
It's
You're
easy
stronger
to
than you
revert.
think that you are, and yeah, I think it's good to try to, if you can do anything to help empower yourself in those moments, I think is amazing.
And it's easy to revert to a victim state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the default for most people, is like, oh, poor me. Either that or jump into an aggressive stance, like fight or flight, where they'll get angry with somebody, or and that kind of stuff typically stops rational thought dead in its tracks, and you just start reacting on some primal level to stuff without really knowing why. Or so if you can stop yourself doing that and analyze it, and these things can help you with that.
I was talking with our friend of the studio, Christopher, aforementioned, and we were talking about. I was talking about obsessing about something, and I wasn't happy that I was fixating on something.
Yep.
And he said, I always think about that as a data redundancy cycle, and he's like that you have a lot of activity on the hard drive, and you're just you're constantly pegging this one tiny part of the hard drive.
Nice.
And I'm like, I like that. And it helped me. There was a couple of times here recently where I was getting into the data redundancy cycle, and seeing it that way for what it was, it made it easier for me to step away and not focus on it. So yeah, that was good. And then there was also another one, Randy, I was thinking about for the start of the year, is that ultimately, you mentioned the victim mentality, right? And ultimately, whoever you are responsible for your own mental health.
Yeah.
It's nobody else's responsibility. It's not your significant other. It's not your parents. It's not your children. It's not your boss. It's not the government. It's you. And no matter what hand you've been dealt, you can do more with it than what you probably think that you can. Way more. And it's on you. It's on you. And it's also, Randy, one of the things I'm thinking of is that I have sympathy for anybody that's in any particular state, right? I can understand how anybody could end up anywhere. But what I don't have sympathy for is people that remain in places, and that there's two versions of you probably, and when there's one that's suffering mental distress, and when you're in that spot, the thing that is hurting is the thing that's preventing you from being able to make good decisions about your health and about decisions, right? But you're not always in that frame of mind. And when you're not in that frame of mind, you have a responsibility to help that person that version of yourself that is in distress. And you do that by, the non-suffering version, the decisions that they make, the patterns that they establish, and things like that. So I do think it's really important that, that you ultimately are the one who's responsible, and people will help you. But ultimately it's on you to be good. And especially, I think it's easy. I've been guilty of this, Randy, that when I've been through moments of high anxiety or depression, when you're not in it, it's like, okay, everything's back to normal. It's fixed. It was temporarily broken. It's not broken now. Everything's cool. But that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be another time that you're going to have that's going to be some moments. And so it's easy that when you're not in it, you're so glad that you're not in it that you don't want to think about it. But you need to think about it for yourself and about being good and helping yourselves. And you do that, when you're not feeling like crap. So I would encourage people to try to if you are a person who suffers from some mental issues, then when you're not suffering from some of those cycles, dedicate it towards thinking about how you can help yourself when you are.
Yeah. And a lot of that stuff, and even stuff with like a diet, and it's a lot of the same kind of thing in that, like, it's not one and done. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that you're going to be like, oh, I conquered that and now it's done. Like, there's a likelihood that, you'll have a setback or something. That'll happen again. And it's important that you don't beat yourself up for that. Like, oh God, I thought I was over this kind of thing, you know? I failed because I thought I had this all nipped in the bud, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a journey, it is. It's something that you have to revisit from time to time, and that's natural and that's okay. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And another thing, like you were talking about, people that don't help themselves and stuff. That's a big part of it. The victim mentality. It's like, are you reveling in being the victim? Are you one of those people?
We
or
all
are you somebody
are.
that just feels terribly like you've been taken advantage of or whatever, and you don't want to feel like that? You really don't want to. You're not enjoying like, oh, poor me.
Yeah, and the thing is, you probably have been taken advantage of, and you probably got a raw deal. And there's some really crappy shit that's happened to you.
But the important is that you are in charge of that.
Yeah.
Of how you react to that, of how you think in that. And, take responsibility. That's a big part of it. Realize that you're responsible for how you choose to feel and react in response to these things. And that you're responsible and where you go from there. So just take control. Take that responsibility, take those reins, and be gleeful about that you have that power to do that.
Yeah. Somebody was talking about that life is like a talent show, right? And you get this one chance, right? It's not, you're not performing a play that you're doing over and over and over. It's a one show, right? And you this is it. And it's like, what are you going to do with that? Like, if you got one chance at a performance, what kind of thing are you going to bring? Are you going to bring something that's going to be safe and conservative so that you don't mess up and you don't look stupid in front of, or do you use something that's bold and that makes a memory, right? And that tries, that you had a moment and you tried something. And I'm trying to embrace that other way. I think I've been way too timid in how I've approached life. And I'm trying to be realizing that, what we have is we've got this one performance to do, Randy, and I want to make a memory
Mm-hmm.
with that performance. I don't want to be timid and afraid of failure. I don't want to live my life in fear of failure.
Yeah.
And I've lived
That's a big thing.
I've
for
lived
me,
my life in a lot of fear of failure. So
yeah, and that goes, I think, hand in hand is analysis paralysis and a fear of failure.
sure.
Because you're always worried that you're making the wrong choice.
Yeah, that's something that's helped empower me over the years. Is that because I had that tendency as well, and I realized the burden on me is not to make the perfect choice. The burden on me is to make a good choice, and that I try to is to try to make a good choice.
Yeah.
And I try to make a good choice by doing the due diligence, doing research or looking or asking people for advice or whatever it might be. But that's what I need to do, is I need to try to make a good choice, not the best choice.
Yeah.
And that helps me a lot. And also, it's impossible to know what the right choice is. It's like there was that quote from Abraham Lincoln that I saw recently, and it said that it is impossible for you to be able to connect the dots of your life beforehand. You can only do it afterwards. So you can't see the stream of logic that is going to follow through your life, but you have to believe that it exists there. And it exists there maybe because of whatever power you believe in or happenstance or nature, but you can't connect the dots at the start. You can only do it at the end. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot to that. There's a lot to this. You think when you're making a choice, Randy, right? So you got choice A and you got choice B, and you chose choice A, and you were less than satisfied with choice A. And so what do you think? I should have chose B. I knew B was the perfect one, but you didn't do B. You don't know how shitty B actually was.
You said doobie.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. You don't know how B actually was. So you're comparing it to an imaginary version of B, right? You don't actually know the faults and the foibles of that experience. You just know that you're less than happy with yours. The other one would have been better, right? And those are the kind of things that we do in our mind that are not conducive to long term.
Something about like grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Like, well, have you actually taken the time to appreciate your grass on your side of the fence?
Well, they say one of the secrets to life is not getting what you want, but wanting what you have.
Yeah.
And it's not about the hand that you're dealt. It's about what you do with that hand, right? It's like, that's not the hand that wins poker. Isn't the best hand. Isn't the best the starting hand isn't the best one. It's what you do with that hand.
There's also a level of gratitude there. And I just bumped the desk and promptly knocked the thought clean out of my head.
It's called gratitude, and that's why.
About like being appreciative instead of worrying about all the stuff you don't have or haven't done. Then take the time to appreciate what you do. Have what you have done.
My dad always used to tell me that it's easy in life to look and see all the people that have more. Yeah. And it's like, but man, you got to stop and look at the people that have less. There's a ton of people that would love to be where you are right now. And there's a ton of people that look at you and say, man, that is a lucky motherfucker. Yeah.
Whenever I encounter somebody that is just trying to bring drama into my life, and again, like once you hit 40, it's like your drama quotient,
your tolerance is
full. You're done. I'm done with drama. I don't need it interjected into my life. I reject it.
There's
no need for it.
There's the meme, and it says it looks like it's a tapestry, an old, or like the Canterbury Tales artwork or something like that, and it says, look upon the field upon which I grow my fucks and see that it is barren.
That's awesome. I am going to need a t-shirt with that.
And it was like that made a memory. That. Yeah. And that's the thing when we were talking about, and I told you at 40 about like your capacity to give a crap just goes up. And you're like, well, let's try to frame this a little differently. But that's the sentiment of what I was trying to capture, is that your ability, your tolerance for that is way lower than it was when you.
And it's just like your frame of reference for life in general changes because like your outlook and because of that, how you deal with life has to change at some point, because you start you start to transition from the youthful like, oh, I'm immortal, I have infinite time to do whatever, to like, oh yeah, morality is a thing. You only do have, you know, such a time. So
mortality salience.
Gotta live your best life, and
I do and I don't.
Yeah, you know, take advantage of it and appreciate it.
Yeah,
because it's, especially like the older you get, the faster time flies.
Yeah.
So
there's a quote by Henry Rollins, and it says, "There's no such thing as spare time, no such thing as downtime, no such thing as free time. All you got is lifetime."
Yeah.
And that's I've thought about that time where it's like I'm killing time, like I'm waiting to do something, and so it's like, oh, I got an hour to kill, and I'm like, that's an hour of my life I'm not getting back, and I'm just going to try to
waste it.
Make it go away.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, ooh, that's probably not great. That's probably not a good thing to do. And yet it's so, you know, so it's like, well, what value can I bring to this moment? You know?
Yeah.
And then right now it's so much easier too, because, you know, we all have phones with us. So our smartphones allow you to do all kinds of things. But Randy, was there anything else on the agenda that we absolutely positively wanted to hit today? I just wanted to make sure.
Hold on, I want to do one more thing real quick.
Yeah.
One other thing that helped me a lot, and this specifically like when I'm exercising and stuff, if I hit a wall, like then it can help, but it can also help like with emotional and mental stuff. It's just love it, want some more of it. If you're hurting, and you're feeling down, just keep saying like, love it, want some more of it. And it's a way to flip it.
So Randy, what you're telling me is this is when Kylo Ren was battling Rey in the first of the 3 last movies.
Yeah.
And he takes that thing and he hits us. Remember that? When he gets shot and he hits it to make it bleed. He's like, love it, do it, well, more of it, bring it.
Yeah.
That's sometimes you got to. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Sometimes you gotta, like, what was it in Office Space when the guy's fighting with the printer? Yeah, that's what I want. More of that. That's it. Give me that. Yeah, more of that. That's exactly what I want. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes you gotta have that attitude with life.
It's a bit of a reverse psychology, but it's also, it's more potent because you can literally transform what's happening. You can take that negative and turn it into a positive, and it helps you with the whole modality of doing that, of converting that negative thought process into something more positive.
Right.
It's good practice, and it really helps. So
yep.
Love it, want some more of it.
Yep.
And if you think about it, there is a physical like massage. Like, you're in pain, and what do? They find that spot that hurts the worst, and they make it hurt more.
Yeah, they do.
And they work it out. Love it, want some more of it.
That's right. Stretch it. You gotta stretch it.
And just live, laugh, love is a good saying. Live, laugh, love. All right. So,
Randy, I think what you're trying to say is that you have to wrap it before you tap it. No, that was not it. I'm sorry. That was.
So what else did we want to do from here? You had mentioned
we talked a little bit about the gaming. We're going to be diving into VR. So yeah, why don't we finish up talking about the games?
That's right. You wanted me to say something about
Star Trek. The VR stuff. We're looking forward to playing it. I don't really have much VR experience. You have a little bit more than me, but not a ton, right?
Not much.
And so this will be. You got to spend, I don't know, an hour with it Tuesday, but we didn't have a lot of most of that was just trying to figure out how to set the things up, and the motion controllers weren't charged, which they
for
are
the PlayStation
now.
VR. Yeah.
The hand controllers, whatever they call those.
Yeah.
The
which it's pretty plug and play. There was just
it's just
yeah.
And so we didn't get too much, but and I had to go, so you wanted me to put it on, but it's like, I don't want to put it on for 3 minutes and then not be able to play. And so you got to spend, I don't know.
I just want to make sure that I got to experiencing it for the first time.
Yep, and you'll get to do that. I didn't don it. I just charged.
I was pretty adamant about, okay, but you're not allowed to touch this until
I'm leaving a VR here, but you can't touch it. Don't look at it. Don't think about it. So, yep, I did. And we're gonna look forward to that. That's gonna be fun. Because there was a game called Bridge Commander,
Yeah.
by Activision,
Star Trek,
and
Bridge
you were
Commander.
the captain of
Or Bridge Crew.
a Galaxy class.
It's actually Bridge Crew, not Bridge Commander.
Bridge Commander was the game I was talking about.
Oh,
so
okay.
this one's called Bridge Crew.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about.
So that's why I
this
keep
one
getting.
is Bridge Crew.
Yeah, I think the one that I'm talking about, the old Activision game.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is awesome because you got to be in charge of, Galaxy class. So it would have been the next generation version of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And you got to, it was about toggling your energies between your weapons, your speed, and your shield. So managing those, and it seems like that still is a similar aspect in this game. And Navy battles. I remember a friend of mine talking about that. That Star Trek, those battles are Navy battles, right? It's not like Star Wars, and which are more like aerial battles. It's quick, it's fast moving. But when you're doing those types of things in Star Trek, it's slow moving, powerful vessels. So it's a lot. It's like, and then the whole thing is Star Trek is all based upon the Navy, right? Their whole military structure in Star Trek, I don't know if you knew that, was all based on Navy. The ranks and systems, it matches it. Captain, Admiral,
whatnot.
The way that they talk about it's this Navy, it's the Space Navy, which is interesting, makes sense. But so it was like really, really neat, and it was a game that I played for a little bit and got set aside, and I always wanted to revisit, but never got a chance to. And so with this, it looks like we'll get to, and I know that this has gotten some really good praise as a VR experience. So I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a try. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. It was neat. Yeah. It was weird because as I'm watching it on the TV, like you haven't seen that yet, right? You don't know what it looks like when somebody else is wearing the thing, and when it shows you, and it showed like a screen and you're moving around, it was like, whoa, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch you doing this. It was easier, I think, once it got to a bigger screen, because when it's doing like the menu screen, it's tiny, and so everything else is just like white. But once you were actually in the VR and you could look around, like you were outside the ship looking around, and it was like, that's pretty cool, where you're looking over at the different, crew members, or seeing how you're using the hand things. And it seemed like once you kind of got the feel for it, I know we had some issues because the chair that you were in, you were hitting things, you were hitting the armrests when you couldn't need to. But it seemed like when you didn't have those restrictions, it looked like you were starting to get a sense of the controls pretty quickly and intuitively. So that was neat to see.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it's like that with any game. That has a different, controller layout or whatever. You have to take a moment to learn the controls. And
there's a ton of controls in that too. Yeah. So it's like, where is this menu? How do I get to this? There was a lot of that, I think, as you were like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
How do I?
But a lot of it seems like anything. It seems like a lot at first, but it's really a bunch of repetitive stuff. But you have to realize that and get used to it. And it's just kind of getting used to doing that, and not being like, oh yeah, it's this button, not this button, and I have to. Especially when we were doing VR, it's like where you're looking is part of selecting things. So like if I want to take over a certain station or give commands to a certain station, like helm versus helm versus communications. So if I want to give a navigation command or have them do something, then I need to look at that station and hit a certain button.
And I think that you could also do it a different way as well. But
there is a different way. So it's just getting used to those.
And then also you had played it a little bit with pre-VR. So and you were saying it was different. So you were used to it one way, and so you didn't start, I don't think, at the tutorial. I think you had started it with an existing thing that you were doing. So it was a little bit more advanced, and then you had different UIs that you were trying to.
The part of that was that it was semi-tutorial that I was in, I think. So,
were you still in tutorial? Okay.
The heads-up displays were different. I kept looking for these consoles that I was used to from playing.
They were tutorial versions?
Yeah, and they weren't there because it was only giving you certain options for the tutorial. Okay. Yeah. So I was like, there should be all this stuff, and it's not. I'm a little confused, but that became evident once I was in the actual game. So it's very cool. I would recommend playing that to anyone that likes VR and or Star Trek.
Yeah, and looking forward to trying the Beat Sabers. It seems like that's
that should be a totally different experience. This one is
Yeah.
sit down and relax kind of play. Like you're not really moving much. You're just
Right.
moving your hands and hitting buttons basically. It's more experiential and
you don't have to do
puzzle
that much
solving in a
movement
way.
to say make
What?
it so.
Yeah, make it so.
Make it so. You just have to take that
whereas
little
Beat
wand and you
Saber
do
should
that. You
be-
do the finger. You do the finger. Make it
Beat
so.
Saber should be very physically active.
Yeah. Although I did see that it was saying that most of the games are meant to be played sitting.
Well, that one could be, yeah, but still, it's like that. You know, you're doing movements.
I
to
was
the
just
beat and
curious.
stuff
It was, you know, it's like I said, if you're designing, it's like, should I have my footrest here? Should I not? Is it going to be? And it was like, but most of the games are going to be designed for you, which makes sense. Also, there was another thing I wanted to talk about VR. I love watching on Tested at the end of the year, Randy. They do these my favorite things, and Tested's grown, right? They probably have about 10 different people on staff now, and so I like watching their favorite things videos, and one of them, Jeremy, Jeremy is the one who designed the game frame that we have over. Yeah, you can see the joust LED walking. He had actually designed that, and I feel lucky to have one of those. He's a big VR guy, and Tested in general is a big VR people. And I didn't know the Oculus Quest. Have you heard of it? I guess it was a big gift this year. And the Oculus Quest is non-tethered.
Oh, is that the Wi-Fi one I was talking about? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's non-tethered.
No,
and that blows my mind. I don't understand how that works. But there's apparently a Vader's Apprentice game that's on that system. It looks pretty. And I'd actually seen a commercial for it. It was like, what? But yeah, the Oculus Quest. I think it's about $400, and but it's standalone, no wires. It's like, that's interesting.
There's one for the PlayStation I'm interested in checking out. I can't remember what it's called, but it's
a game.
It's a shooting game.
Okay.
Where you have to go through different scenarios, and you have guys that are shooting at you from various locations or trying to stab you or whatever, and so you have to navigate that without getting killed. Otherwise, you have to start over again. So for a VR, there's people that were doing that, and apparently you can set it to where you have to shoot to the beat. So it's like they're dancing while they're shooting and dodging bullets and stuff. It looked really cool.
You're turning it into a musical. It's like it was, it started off as like a fistful of dollars, and it ends up as Oklahoma.
All right, we've got like 2 minutes left for our time here.
6 minutes.
Unless we want to go over.
6 minutes. Doug, you press your on.
Was there anything else that you needed to mention today?
No, I don't think so. I think our schedule next
VR.
week is going to be usual. So I don't think there's anything there. We'll have some stories about VR. I'll be doing some more work, Randy, on the castle stuff here. So I'll probably do some more pieces like this where I have did some of this prelim work, and then we'll do some dry brushing next week. I anticipate that. I did want to point out here our glue thing came out pretty cool.
Nice.
Glue stand. I still have to get something so that it's heavy. I have to figure that out, and I may glue multiples of these metal sheets to it. I don't know. I'm still kind of.
Do you think? Are you happy with the seam there on that, or do you think you'll go back in and chip away at that and
I might
integrate it a bit more?
I might. I was trying not to hate it, but I hate it.
Well, it's fine either way, but I think you could do a lot with it.
Yeah,
or you personally could do a lot.
Yeah, I think that it probably will. I think what I'll do, Randy, is just to take the wand, the heat wand, and try to
that would work.
See if I can. When I glued these together as I ate it, I'm surprised it left that seam, and I think it's had to do with the glue being on the underside, probably, and it not wanting to eat back as quickly or something. So yeah, I think I need to I need to massage that a little bit because I'm not really in love with it.
JC, just quickly, sorry, he had a couple comments. He said VR is out of this world. He played the Batman one and really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
Super good.
there's an Arkham one. Yeah, that one's definitely on my radar.
Yeah, I may actually have that one because I bought a bunch of stuff.
Oh,
It was
okay.
on sale before even.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that Tetris. I want to try that Tetris effect. That one.
Oh, that should be crazy.
Yeah, because that's meant for VR. It was designed for VR. You can play it non-VR, and it was cool to play even non-VR. But yeah.
Cool. He said, "Great stream. Have a good one."
Yeah, have a good one,
So,
JC, man. Thanks for hopping on, brother. We really
You too.
appreciate you showing up and giving us your time, brother. Have a good one. Randy, I think that's all that I had for today. We showed that. We talked about what we're doing, castles. I'm really wanting to work on making a big castle scene here for our town of Quasi, I believe. So I think that's probably what we have in the near future. And I want to remind everybody to please like, share, and subscribe. I remind people that when you hit the subscribe, that'll give you access to the bell icon. And if you click that, then you get the sweet, sweet sounds of bells. And also you'll get notifications when we are posting videos. And we look to post more edited content as well. So, and look to have also hoping this weekend, Randy, to get some photos.
Sweet.
Of some items, the scarecrows and the doors that we had painted. Those are going to go up on the shop. I just need to get the photos so that we can get them posted. So hopefully I can get that done over the weekend. And I'm still working on wrapping up that.
I was all excited. I thought you were talking about the glamour shots you had done at Sears.
Oh, no, Randy, those are only for you.
Oh,
those
okay.
don't go up for the general public. And then, yeah, so we got the stuff for the Quasi shop. We got some edited content. I'm still working on that edited video. Trying not to stress myself out. I was really wanting to get that out last year. I didn't, but sometimes you just gotta let it be, right, Randy?
Yeah, let it be.
Just gotta not be too hard on yourself. And I've tried to be diligent with the time that I had, and I just wasn't able to get to it.
The tone plays a lot into that, the meaning of that phrase.
What's that?
Let it be, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, just let it be, man. Can mean a lot with those few words.
Mother Mary comes to me, seeking words of wisdom. Let it be.
Let it be.
Paul McCartney said that he had a dream about his mother, and that's where that song came from. Pretty touching.
I actually had some Christmas clearance stuff.
Oh,
I got, like some LED candle, a bunch of different stuff I was going to show you.
Oh, cool.
So we'll have to revisit that.
Yeah. You started to show me.
Visit it for the first time during a future stream.
Yep. Yeah, that looks great. Look forward to that. And so, yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. I did notice, Randy, that the last video that we posted, that some people had liked it. So I do appreciate that people had taken the time to click the buttons that matter.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Anything else, Randy? I think that's it.
I think that's it.
All right, then we'll leave everybody with our customary exit salutation, because you said salutation can be a hello and a goodbye, right?
Yep.
And which is the doctor's promise, which is never cowardly, never cruel, never give up, never give in. Thanks, everybody, for your time and your attention. We really appreciate it. Be kind to yourself, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Is it over?
I think so, Randy.
Love it. Want some more of it?
Bring it! Yeah, that's what I want. More of that.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks. Love you.